Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about a real-life application. Again, this isn't something that everybody would do, but it's how it does apply to real life, or one example of it. So the distance in nautical miles, you can see with a periscope, is 1.17 times the square root of h, where h is the height of the periscope above the water. Can you see twice as far with a periscope that is 6 feet above the water than with a periscope that is 3 feet above the water? And we need to be able to explain. Now, the explanation, I'm not going to write down. You guys would need to type that in. And remember, explanations are worth full points, but to save time in the video, I'm not going to write it down. I'm just going to be able to say why. All right, so what we've got to do is we've got to find or think of / remember a formula. In this case, it's given to us. So what I'm going to be using on both of these is the idea of finding our height. But multiplying that, or whatever our height is, let me actually put this as a different height, because we are talking about two different heights. So we have two different heights, and we're trying to see if do we see twice as far when we're 6 feet above water than when we're 3 feet, because obviously 6 is twice as 3. Do they have that relation? Are they proportional? That's really what the question is asking. Now, we don't have to actually, set up a proportion, do things like that. We can compare them otherwise, but that is going to be key in our answers, using the word proportional, because that's what it's asking. If I double how far I go up, do I double how far I see? All right, I'm going to work on solving this. 1.17 times the square root of, this time's going to be 3 because of the number right there. And over here, it's 1.17. Sorry, it's off a little bit. The calculator's right there, and I didn't want to be pushing on the calculator. So this one is times 6. So I've got to go through and solve this. So I'm actually going to start with the square root, because remember, order of operations, we got to do roots and exponents first. So I do 3 square root, and here I'm going to get 1.73. Now, there's a lot more, but after the 3 is a 2, so that means I keep the 3, and I'm just going to use 2 decimal places, because that's about as much as I really need. So now my equation is 1.17 times 1.73. Now, to be accurate, this is what I wrote, but this is what I'm actually going to use. I'm just going to keep that number and say times 1.17 equals. Now, the final answer that I get is 2.03. So that's how far I can see. Now, that's not my final answer. Remember, I got to compare it to an answer over here. But let me check something for you. 1.17 times 1.73, 2.024. See, if I had just multiplied this, and the reason I did this was to show you, rounding too early can change our answer. See, if I rounded and did this multiplication, which is going to be what we normally want to do, I don't want to write all of that. Well, if we did that, this will be wrong, because I would have written as my final answer 2.02, which is not 2.03. Now, it's close enough, it's not really going to change anything, but imagine, you're having to do this. Let's say you're making, dials, and each one is a little bit off. Well, every 100 dials would be the equivalent of a full amount off here. That's what it's meaning. So you have to know when. You have to start learning when to round and when not to. The best time to round is a final answer, not during the problem. You want to use as much of the actual number as possible until the end. That's when you round. So if I did this, these two do not actually equal each other. Sorry, these two do not actually equal each other. This actually equals 2.02 because I'm rounding, which is not 2.03. Keep that in mind. So on this side, I'm actually going to write the whole decimal. So I get 6 square root, and then that one is going to be 2.4494897. So this is what I actually should be using when I'm multiplying. And so that is what I should write down. In other words, what the work you have is what you're using. Now, when I take that times 1.17 equals. Now, the nice thing when you're doing it on a calculator is technically by writing that, all it was copying down. I didn't have to think of it, and I just have to hit multiply. I don't have to type this whole number in. Now, when I get this, now this is 2.865. I want 2 decimals, so this is where I would round to 7. So the question was, if I double the height of my periscope, will I double the distance? Well, is 2.87 double 2.03? A couple ways we could look at it. We can just divide this final answer by 2. And if it equals this number, we're good. If it doesn't, we're not. It does not, so no. So the question is, why doesn't it double if we double the height? And really, the best answer we can give right now, there are more exact answers, and it's going to take a true understanding through algebra. You guys are in pre-algebra, so you're not there yet. So no, it does not double the height because we can only see 2.87 compared to 2.03, which is not twice the distance. So first you give me the no answer, then you give me the because, and really what we're doing is comparing these numbers. Since 2.87 is not twice as much as 2.03, when I double the height of my periscope, I do not double the height or the distance which I can see. If you have any questions, make sure to email those to me. Stay safe out there, guys. We'll see you next class.